Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Mangalorian as we continue our trek down Dragon Ball Super. This is the Super era of the Mangalorian, and today we're going to be covering Volume 5 of the Dragon Ball Super manga. So, what's going on with you, man? How has it been these past couple weeks? My birthday week, man, I don't even want to get into it, but how have you been?
I mean, I've just been working hard. You know how it is.
Yes, definitely. So we're going to go ahead and continue things right away. We are going to be going into Volume 5, which is basically going to conclude the Future Trunks arc and begin the Tournament of Power. So we've already got their art for the upcoming Gods of Destruction and things like that. We left off on the fight between completed Blue Goku and Zamasu. Now, a lot of these chapters are more action packed than anything, with Goku showing his superior strength using this completed blue. Of course, like we talked about at the end of the last volume, Vegeta can already tell that Goku's straining to contain his power inside of his blue. He is straining here, so time is of the essence here in this battle as they go back and forth. What do you
Yeah,
think about?
it's cool because it kind of within the context of the manga, it kind of serves as foreshadowing for Goku having trouble with Ultra Instinct and his body being able to contain that energy as well. That's something I find really cool about it because he has the same problem with Ultra Instinct, and it's another issue that they acknowledge at the end of Dragon Ball because Vegeta says that their bodies are essentially at their peak. Like at the end of Dragon Ball Super, Vegeta's like, we don't have to worry about toughening up our bodies anymore. Like we can pretty much, it can pretty much withstand any amount of energy that we throw at it. That's a very big focus of Dragon Ball Super is their bodies being in good enough shape that they can contain like a huge amount of energy. Like that's a huge focus.
Yeah, and it takes time to master because, like we talked about in the last stream, Vegeta and Goku, when they fought Hit, had not quite figured it out yet. That's something that took a bit more time. Actually, during this arc is when it happened. Here we, of course, have the blood. I saw somebody yesterday on social media talk about Dragon Ball needs blood, and it has like a big picture going around. I mean, I don't disagree with them. I've said it before. Blood is a storytelling tool. They don't have to always use it, but blood is useful for getting certain aspects of a story to mean more. Now, what do you think about the
Oh,
manga version of Zamasu here ripping his clothes off, bro? That's a new thing.
yeah, it's cool because Toriyama did this quite a few. A lot of people give Toyotaro smack for that panel because it's a repeat of something that he's done with Piccolo, Goku. Where he like rips
Goku
the
did it in Daima.
yeah. It's something that's well, Goku. What's very interesting about that is Goku was careful not to damage his gi in Daima, which Toriyama apparently made
That's
a huge deal
that's
about
true.
him not
That's
damaging it.
true.
But I think it's cool. This is essentially, to me, an indicator that a character is desperate. When a character like rips off their gi like this, it's an indicator that they're like desperate and they're in trouble. So yeah, I think this is good. Like he's not just ripping it off for the sake of it. There's like narrative purpose behind it in the sense that it's trying to show you that he's starting to kind of get uncomfortable with the situation. You know.
It's almost symbolic in a way of okay, the martial artist that was in here, whatever was in there, it's gone. Now it's a fight to the death. It's almost like that kind of symbolism, even though Zamasu's not
Yeah.
afraid to kill.
Yeah.
So Vegeta even here comments that right there. He says that Kakarot's body is nearing its peak, and he's gonna very very soon lose his body. He lose control of his body. So Goku himself even acknowledges that okay, this is getting very very tough right now. Here comes Zamasu with the big kip up, and
Yeah, this is a very important part because this a lot of people
you
miss
want
this.
you want to talk about this line?
Yeah, well, it's not really necessarily the line. It's what's happening here within context. So in the last Mongolorian, I was talking about how they like to parallel Zamasu's understanding of ki control and stuff like that to Goku's, and that's what's happening here. Vegeta is pointing out that essentially Zamasu is trying a very, very similar principle to what Goku is doing with Master Blue. The difference is that he doesn't have the efficiency or the proficiency to actually be able to contain the energy within his body and not damage it. So this is essentially Merged Zamasu trying to do something akin to what Goku is doing here, but it actually ends up damaging his body in a similar way to what Goku does with Master Blue. It's just that Zamasu doesn't even have that baseline understanding or mastery of this type of energy manipulation. So he ends up basically just kind of screwing himself in the end by attempting to power up in this way. And it's because Zamasu didn't have the guidance of a god or the training of a god, and because he was so stubborn, that he thought he knew everything essentially, that this backfires on him. He never took the time to actually learn to control his energy. He just stole Goku's body and his abilities, very similar to Ginyu, and just expected to be able to use them to their peak abilities, and it ends up backfiring. So,
yeah, and even though he's more skillful of a martial artist than Ginyu, doesn't matter. He was able to use Goku's body better. That's obvious.
yeah,
But
for sure.
he's not the original guy, which is even when Vegeta straight up tells him that. In the anime version, Vegeta goes off on him and tells him. Now, I do love Toyotaro's art here. I think when Toyotaro does close-ups, like not super close, but sort of like a mid-level sort of side panel like he's doing here with Goku and Zamasu, that's some of his best work. I've always thought he was really good at doing the versus screens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the color,
Like that right here.
Colors definitely help as well, because particularly right here, the color manga is very pretty. I like the colors that they're using and stuff like that. But
yeah, the color enhances it.
The page flow is what I tend to focus on. And in this particular case, there are a few times where it's kind of jarring, but it's not too bad. Like, for example, if you'll go back one page, if I was going to do something a little bit different than how Toyotaro handled the last page, that last panel where Goku and Zamasu are getting ready to collide,
right?
I would actually have put all those panels close together, because that white space in between the panels is supposed to represent the passage of time. So it makes it seem like they're
longer
that
time.
It's taking a while for them to collide. So I probably would have changed that up a little bit. But otherwise, particularly within this fight, his paneling in combat is really cool. Like, it's really good. Like the different actions that he chooses to use and the speed in which he moves from panel to panel is really cool. He does a good job.
Well, I will do somewhat devil's advocate and say that what he might be trying to go for here is he may be trying to go for like a slow motion effect. Like they're both about to hit each other, dun, 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 like the drama, because he continues the slow motion.
Yeah.
Huh?
He very well may be, yeah.
Yeah, he continues the slow motion kind of aspect here. And then, Goku with the classic, very Goku line. Sorry, Lord Beerus, if I'm messing this up, basically. But I'll be using this now. Hakai. So Goku goes for the Hakai right in Zamasu's face.
That's actually a pretty important scene, because if you remember, whenever we first started covering Super, one of the things that I talked about was Goku having to accept destruction as a concept, and how in all of Dragon Ball Z he really struggled to accept destroying those around him. If he's willing to Hakai, not just kill, okay, this is very, very important.
It's a big
Goku
deal.
Normally when Goku kills somebody, he's like, well, they might just come back as a good guy in the next life. You know what I mean? Like, that's normally his attitude about it. The fact that he was willing to erase Zamasu from existence just goes to show you that even Goku has determined, this pure-hearted character, has determined that Zamasu is not only irredeemable in the physical sense, but irredeemable in the spiritual sense. And so that's pretty telling. That's for Goku of all people to be like, okay, your soul needs to be erased from existence. That's pretty telling.
Yeah, and also it's also telling at the fact that he basically he's on a timer. Sooner or later, his body will give out, and Zamasu's going to kill him. So the only thing he has left to do is to try this. It's like a Hail Mary pass, is what it is. Basically, Goku saying, all right, this is my last big Hail Mary. Very similar to what happened with his fight with Demon King Piccolo. He had his arm broken, he was all screwed up. Here comes Piccolo. Goku uses his free arm to blast himself up and then punch right through Piccolo's chest. And that's what led to Demon King Piccolo puking up Piccolo Jr. Well, that was Goku's last ditch effort. That was his Hail Mary pass in that fight. And it worked. He scored. He got the touchdown.
Yeah,
here, not so much.
We do have to factor in that Zamasu is immortal. That does have an impact on Goku's decision making here, because Goku probably wouldn't be so desperate if Zamasu wasn't immortal. But it's like I said, it's still pretty telling that he was willing to do this to Zamasu. That's very out of character in some sense for Goku. Not in other sense, but in some sense, it's uncommon, I guess you could say, for him to take that approach. So
he actually manages to erase half of Merged Zamasu, the Goku Black half, or at least half of his face, and then quickly Merged Zamasu does an '80s pro wrestling gimmick and puts a woman in front of him so that to protect himself, as his human shield. Goku can't do anything for that. Ends up getting kicked by Zamasu's good leg, because he got half his body, but he didn't get his leg. Goku gets hit with a big move, as you can see here. Here's the slow motion effect. Goku goes back, hits the ground, and then passes out. So he's done. He's done for. And then Zamasu manages to regenerate. How do you feel about Zamasu having the regeneration ability, because he's immortal?
I think it's appropriate. I think, okay, here's the thing. As a Dragon Ball villain, there's only so much you can do to make a villain interesting. And the fact that this villain is immortal, has Goku's body, used the time machine and the Dragon Balls, that's overkill.
And kills other gods.
Yeah. You could, essentially, Zamasu at the time, before, the later villains and the later stuff that they tried to do, to me, Zamasu felt like the end-all, be-all to Dragon Ball villains for a while. They used so much with Zamasu. They threw so many things at him and mixed so many concepts together that it just, he's a Kai too, and that adds a whole nother layer to his character. But it's, to me, it's like he is the culmination of almost every storytelling tool that Toriyama has used in the past. It's like he's trying to take all of them and throw them into one story with Zamasu, which I do think is very interesting.
Moro did a lot of that too. Spicy Meatball says, why was she so close to them? She wasn't, bro. Look, he created a portal. Remember, he can do that kind of stuff. He created a portal and pulled her next to him. She was actually pretty far away and safe, but that's what slime ball villains do, bro. And so he did that. Goku hesitates, gets kicked, gets knocked down. Zamasu regenerates. Now he wants to take out Mai. Here comes Trunks. He gets knocked away. But as he comes through, right, he's about to kill both of them. Then blam, what happened here? And the fusion.
This would probably be a good opportunity to pull up those images I sent you last week.
Oh, that's right. That 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Yeah, this would probably be a good opportunity.
You're right. You're right about that. Let me. Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, let me get these out. Okay, because there's one in particular. Is it this one right here that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah. So this is something that happens in Journey to the West, folks. There's literally a scene where Sun Wukong gets cut in half. And there's another image I sent you, if you can find it, Danny, that shows this. Unless it's at the bottom of that one, which it might be.
No, I do have it. I have it here. But I wanted you to talk about that one first.
So he gets split in half. Oops. And then when he gets split in half, he comes back as two Sun Wukongs, like literally exactly like this. It's literally verbatim the exact same thing, except Sun Wukong's not a bad guy at the time.
This right here.
Yeah. And a lot of people attribute.
Yeah, see, folks, he cuts him in half, and then here he's back as two Sun Wukongs.
Yeah. And a lot of people contribute to like there being a bunch of different copies of Zamasu to the Cooler movie because Toyotaro does like pay homage to the Cooler movie, but actually that's also a Sun Wukong thing. Like the ability to like clone yourself and also as a villain using a lot of clones of yourself. I think I sent you an image of that too.
It was also in Fantasia, remember?
Yeah. That was like a Sun Wukong thing. Like he would like use a bunch of copies of himself. As a matter of fact, when he invaded heaven and he tried to take over the universe, that's one of the main reasons he was successful because his entire army was essentially him. So but anyway, I just thought that was cool. I thought that'd be cool.
No, it is cool because it's especially the slicing in half. Like I've seen that in other manga and stuff like that. So I thought it was very violently done. But here, what ends up happening is the Potara fusion runs out, and now they're struggling to defuse. Right, they're struggling because only half of them is mortal, the other half is not. Therefore, everything gets messed up, which is weird because when the old Kai fuses with the witch, I guess because it was different for them. They stayed fused forever. So the 1 hour fusion is over because Goku Black still counts as a mortal body as opposed to the immortal one, and that's when this mutilation scene happens.
Yeah,
and then here comes.
That's actually one complaint I had for the manga Goku Black Arc. I did feel that they convoluted the concept of being a Supreme Kai too much in comparison to the anime. I like in the anime that all you had to do was just wear the earrings to be considered a Supreme Kai. Like I actually preferred that than there happened to be some sort of other thing happen for you to be an official Supreme Kai. But I mean, it is what it is. But I did prefer the anime's approach to how you become a Supreme Kai because I just felt like it was less convoluted than this.
Yeah. Okay. Draveny, bro, I'm refusing to answer your super chat, bro, because I don't talk about that kind of stuff on here, bro. Like, I rarely veto super chats, but yours is getting vetoed, so I'm not talking about that kind of stuff on the Mangalorian, bro. So, Trunks gets split, especially something from that long ago. Trunks splits this guy in half. Down he goes, and here he is doing the freaking classic shank to the back all the way through. Yep. And here, I thought this right here would have been a pretty satisfying way to end the fight, but it's not because Goku Black is still Goku Black. He gets up and he's just...
Yeah, that's an iconic panel right there. I've seen so many people use that panel of Goku Black with the sword stuck in his bag.
Because he's not supposed to be immortal. Goku's right. He's the other side of him is the immortal. But this is where things get really, really weird. And this is because now he basically took his face back. I don't even know how to even explain what happened here. It's almost like his body did a reset. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The merging of the two essentially, because you got to remember, Goku Black was becoming more Zamasu as he was being damaged. His cells were regenerating as Zamasu's cells. And that's essentially the only reason Toyotaro could get away with this is that, essentially there's these weird there's these weird mechanics that Toyotaro added to the Potara that normally doesn't exist. And this is part of it. The fact that Zamasu is the same person, but also the fact that he was partially a different person and then started to construct or regenerate his cells as the second person. It created this weird effect where the Potara sort of recognizes them as the same person, but not at the same time. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of convoluted.
Do you prefer? I should ask you. Do you prefer this, or do you prefer the way the anime did it? I can't hear you.
I just think all this is
there you are.
I just think all this is unnecessary. I think all you would have had to have done was just have Merged Zamasu when he goes to power up, have that start to split the fusion instead of the whole like him being mortal thing, because that doesn't make any sense within the context of the anime. Because within the context of the anime, all you need is the earrings, and they're both wearing the earrings. So it doesn't make any context within the. But that's not how it works in the manga. But the whole idea of them splitting because they're one's a Kai and one's a human is unnecessary. Toyotaro could have had them split as a side effect of trying to power up. That would have made much more sense. And then them merging back together like this or becoming the same person like this would be a side effect of the fact that they both were Supreme Kai. One was a mortal, one was a Kai, but they both would still technically be considered a Supreme Kai. I think that makes much more sense than what Toyotaro was trying to do here. I don't hate it, but I just think it's unnecessary. I think there's other ways he could have done it that would have been less convoluted.
I did an entire. Occasionally, I will ask Draven. I'm Draven. I did a show with him last night. Occasionally, I will ask Jordan, like, for his opinion on certain things about this. But basically, we did a stream on a Super Magic show. Me and Star Blast Studios, Heesh, and we talked all about what they could do with the Super remake of this arc. So check out that stream to get your question answered, because we went over not only this but a lot of other stuff that's in the manga that's not in the anime version that they're changing. So there you go. Basically now Goku's exhausted and this Zamasu guy just won't go down. Now there's two God Zamasus, and it really does feel like it's hopeless at this point. Vegeta tries to muster up some power to get in there, saves Goku by kicking him out of the way, and then powers up again.
Yeah.
What?
He saves Trunks, really. I mean, he kicks
Goku. He kicked Goku away, yeah, because he was about to get hit, and then he saves Trunks, yeah.
He's tired of Goku, like, not taking care of business. I will say the color manga people really popped off with the shading here. Like the blue, like the blue hue light that's like hitting everybody from Vegeta's aura, and then the yellow hue that comes when it comes off of him whenever he uses the final flash is just beautiful. They did a great job.
Yeah, I like it as well. It almost reminds me of like a final flash, but with the blue Super Saiyan Blue power. I also like, the gamma burst flash is a move that we haven't seen in the anime yet. I don't think he ever did it in the anime.
No, he never did in the anime. This is definitely something that Toyotaro was fanboying over to do. Yeah, for sure. So he blasts this guy with everything he's got and actually manages to break his body up. So that took everything left in Vegeta to be able to do. And they're all trying to get the hell out of there. But then guess what happens? All the body parts that got cut off regenerate into their own Zamasu. Once again, borrowing from Fantasia. Yep.
It's crazy because, and I actually like this. I think Toyotaro did a great job of like making it so that things get more and more hopeless. You know what I mean? Things are going to get more and more hopeless. Huh?
Yeah. I agree with you. So here's the thing that I really enjoy about it is that it's very, very rare that you get to see a character like Zamasu take advantage of all the tools that the heroes take advantage of, the time machine, the Dragon Balls, and all that stuff, and create a situation where they essentially actually put the main characters in this type of situation. You don't see this very often. Like, don't get me wrong, the show has been hopeless before. Like, there has been parts in the series where things have seemed hopeless, but this particular scenario is the most desperate I think the characters have ever been, and I think moving them to the timeline where everybody's been killed and it's like a completely like a barren wasteland where there's like no characters around who are alive, gods particularly who are alive, to like that's another tool, and you talked about this earlier. That's another tool that the characters have always leaned on, is the gods, and they don't even have that here. So I really enjoy that, like, everything that the characters would normally use to get out of a situation like this is gone. All of it.
That's
There's
a
no
good way to
gods.
have stakes.
Yeah, there's no gods. There's no Dragon Balls. There's I
Well,
mean, the time machine.
there is the green button, but
but
we haven't got there yet.
Yeah. And I would say that that's probably the reason the button exists, is because they knew that they were going to want to do something similar to the previous arcs where Goku needs help from the gods or some other third party, but they wanted to also create, like you said, this visual of stakes, in the sense that they're in a foreign timeline where everybody's gone. The Dragon Balls have been destroyed. They don't have that much fuel in the time machine. It's just, all of that, I think, is very well done in terms of like building the scene and the narrative. I think it's well done.
Yes, I like the little Monaka parody here. This is the final chapter, I believe, of this arc. Here comes all the Zamasus. They're coming in. They're all trying to teleport the hell out quickly. They're managed to get away, but he's on their tail. Now they're trying to figure out just what the hell they're going to do, because now what's happening is it's almost like an incursion. The balance between the timelines is starting to break. And the Zamasus are saying they want to basically take over everything now. I mean, look at this. This is getting like, it's like the Smiths in Matrix Revolution.
That double page spread from Toyotaro is amazing. Like, that's really
I agree. It's incredible. It's an incredible double page spread. And so at this point, it's just arrogance from Zamasu. And Vegeta wants to stay and fight. They're saying they all want to go in the time machine. And Goku decides to stay as well. They're over here arguing. Here come the Zamasus. What are the plans going to be? And they're like, we're going to have to fight as hard as we can until we die. This is very similar to the Cooler movie. This is definitely from the Cooler movie.
Yeah.
So the second Cooler movie. So then Goku pulls out the button and pushes it. And here comes Zeno, his boy. And Zeno pretty much handles the situation for him. Now, I've talked about this before. I hate this ending. I don't like it. I don't like it here either. I don't like it in the anime. I do not like this ending because the entire purpose of the entire message that Zamasu was trying to tell them is that they can't do anything. Mortals are insignificant without gods. And this ending betrays that, because Goku's trying to teach them that mortals can defend themselves, yet they need the Omni King to help him win. I have never liked this ending.
That's not how I see it at all, because Goku's never been the type to be like, well, let me explain. Let me put it to you this way. I think Zamasu is preaching that because Zamasu himself is arrogant.
I know that. But Goku's is supposed to prove him wrong. The main guy is supposed to prove him wrong, and he doesn't. He proves him right.
But I don't think that Zamasu's criticism of Goku is correct. Even if Goku doesn't prove him right, it's a side effect of Zamasu's arrogance that he feels that way. Goku trying to prove Zamasu right in the sense of being like, well, mortals can defend themselves. That in a certain sense is arrogance. It's like Goku prioritizing trying to prove to Zamasu that
I know what you're trying to say. It's like selfish.
It essentially it would be.
But he did prove Zamasu right, though. He did prove Zamasu right.
In a different way, he proved Zamasu wrong, because Zamasu only feels that Goku should take that approach because he himself is selfish and arrogant. And Goku is willing to call for help to fix the situation because he's not selfish and arrogant. So even though, Zamasu has that criticism of Goku, it's a dumb criticism. It's not a criticism that Goku should be trying to cater to. It's not something that he should be trying to, basically it would be a side effect of arrogance for Goku to try to prove a point in the sense that, mortals can save themselves. Now, in terms of what I like about this ending, because I haven't even got into what I actually like about it. I just don't necessarily agree about like Goku proving Zeno wrong. But what I like about this ending is Zamasu was trying to be Zeno. Like, his goal was essentially to try and be.
He was. Yes, he was. That we know.
Yeah. And the fact that um, a character who represents.
This is kind
You
of
know,
how I see it. What Pale Gray said, I kind of see it like that.
people already
You know what I
had
mean?
an issue with Whis just reversing time in ROF. Well, see, I can kind of see why people have an issue with that, but
That's
I
why
never
I have
had
an issue with it.
But I never had an issue with that either because Beerus and Whis would never have been there if Goku wasn't Goku and he wasn't intoxicating enough that Beerus and Whis wanted to be around to reverse time. So people give Whis and Beerus credit for the reverse time thing, but actually Goku's the reason that happened. And I don't feel any different here when it comes to this ending. The only reason Goku
It gets rid of
Zeno
stakes when Goku has his buddy to help him out and bail him out of everything, man. That's the issue.
That's true. It does get rid of the stakes, but Goku earned the Zeno button by being who he is.
But I'm not doubting that, but it doesn't matter. It's a bad storytelling tool because anytime there's a problem, beat, let me call my boy. Beat, let me call my boy, and that kills it. That kills all tension.
I don't think Goku would ever use this button for any other situation other than this situation. Because
doesn't matter though. He needs to use.
There is no other answer to this situation.
Then they shouldn't have even made. Then they shouldn't have even made this situation. Then they should never have made it to where Goku got to push a button to get help from the strongest being in the universe, bro. When you've got help from the strongest being in the universe and you pride yourself of being a fighter, bro, and you have your buddy in your back pocket, no villain can ever touch you. That's the problem.
Yeah.
This kills the tension for every villain going forward.
No, I don't think Goku would ever use this for another villain going forward. He doesn't.
Doesn't matter if he would ever use it. He's got it. He should never even have that ability. He should never have that because guess what? If he doesn't use it, hold on. If he doesn't use it and everybody dies, then everyone's gonna blame Goku.
Here's the problem with your logic. Zeno erases this timeline.
Why is that a problem with my logic?
Because if Goku calls Zeno to a future villain who is similar to Zamasu, he'll just erase that timeline.
I don't understand how that makes my problem with it any worse or any better.
Because at that point, it's not an end-all MacGuffin button.
Sure it is. It's literally that. It's, hey, we can't beat this guy here. You beat him for us.
Not because there's always a risk that Zeno is going to see the villain as a reason for the entire universe to be erased. And it just so happens that in this scenario, that was the appropriate move to make. But let's say, for example, that Goku used the button against Moro. Well, Goku's going to get erased. So it's not an end all. It's not an end all.
Not necessarily because Zeno could just kill Moro.
Yeah, but Zeno's not going to do that. But Zeno's not going to do that because Zeno establishes here that he judges entire universes based on what he sees in front of him in terms of the mortals that he's dealing with in front of him. It's no different than the TLP. Zeno was willing to erase a universe like that because he thought that the mortals had a low mortal ranking. It's no different here.
But Goku being Zeno,
it doesn't matter if Zeno and Goku are friends. If Zeno shows up and he sees evidence that the universe is not developed to his standards, he's just going to erase him. He doesn't care. Like if he showed up and Moro was there and Moro was turning into this giant being that was getting ready to blow up the galaxy, he wouldn't let that universe exist because that universe has already become something that he would find irredeemable in some sense. So calling Zeno is just as much a risk to Goku and everybody else as it is the villains. So he can't just use it anytime he wants. He can't, because every time he uses it, he's putting himself and everybody else in danger. Because Zeno is he's so quick and easy to erase things without thinking about it. And that's the whole entire reason Beerus didn't want.
But you just said that he shows up and judges, but now you just said he's too quick and easy for him to erase something. Then he's not properly judging then. Then if he's that's a contradiction. If he's too quick to erase something, that means he's not a good judge at all. He's a horrible judge.
I'm not saying he's the greatest judge. He was willing to erase universes in the TOP for very ridiculous things. Like there's a lot of instances in the TOP where I think the characters show great honor and pride, and but Zeno is still willing to erase those.
Well, it's a competition. Yeah, it's a competition.
Yeah. I don't think that Zeno is Zeno has a very childlike perception of what he wants the universes to be, and that's the reason that he's so volatile. I mean, he literally erased universes over losing over like a freaking hide and go seek match. Okay, like
but that's my point. Goku has access to a being that is so far beyond the power of anybody else. Goku should not have that power. Goku should not have that power. That takes Goku getting that power takes away the stakes and the drama for a lot of things. Because it's like, why does your protagonist have to be best friends with a being that can wipe away realities? Like, that's insane.
Well, I kind of see Zeno as a purifier. He's essentially, now if you're thinking about this,
sure, but Goku shouldn't be friends with him like that.
If you look at this story within the context of just like a contained story,
the story betrayed its message.
I don't think that's the message of the story.
The entire arc and the entire villain reason for becoming a villain is because he felt that mortals and humans should not even be best buddies. And guess what? Goku makes best buddies and proves him right. He proves him right, bro.
That's not what he thinks. He thinks that mortals will never become what the Kais are trying to make them become. And he doesn't realize that Goku.
But he also kills the Kais. And everybody else.
But what's ironic about it is that Goku is the type of being that the gods look for. And because Goku is the type of beings that the gods are looking for, that is the reason he's friends with Zeno. And that is the reason this backfires on Zamasu. Because Zamasu was too blind and too arrogant to see that Goku was the type of mortal that he should have been looking for as a god. And Zeno had the insight to see that Goku was the type of mortal that they were looking for. And the entire reason that Goku has access to the Zeno button is because he is that ideal mortal. That's what
I'm not denying that that's not the truth. That is the truth, but that's not the point. I think you're missing my point. My point is that while Goku as a character might be the one guy deserving of the button, he still should not have access to a being that powerful, no matter who he is. Especially before the Tournament of Power. It would actually have made more sense if he got the button after the TOP, but because he got it beforehand, barely even knowing him, like, to me, that takes away stakes in my view, bro. It just takes away, like, this entire arc, the theme of it, and the reason why the villain exists, the villain ultimately Goku never proved the villain wrong. He proved the villain right. And so that's what I'm saying is the purpose of the story betrays itself.
See, I don't agree with that, because Goku having access to the Zeno button does prove him wrong.
No, I don't. The Zeno button, Goku having access to it, right? That's something that was given to him by Zeno, and ultimately Goku did everything he could to try to stop Zamasu, including trying to Hakai him. And so he realized, no matter what, I'm not strong enough to do this. Let me call in my friend to do it for me. You don't think that a main character having that power takes away from... That's definitely not something Goku would even do all that often.
No, it's something that he definitely is having to forsake his pride to do it. But my point is that Goku getting the button is the narrative's way of giving Goku the stamp of approval from the gods.
Sure, but I'm not disagreeing with that.
Zamasu starts the arc off being like, these mortals will never fit the standards of the gods. That is his biggest criticism. That is the biggest idea that he pushes.
Meanwhile, Goku does. No, I like that aspect of it. He still shouldn't have the button, though. But he still should not have the button, though.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I think the button only works for this specific scenario. For one thing, this Zeno doesn't know Goku. For one
right.
thing.
That is true.
This Zeno does not Goku no Goku at all. So the stakes aren't immediately removed by having Goku or by having Zeno be summoned here, because Zeno doesn't care about Goku. Zeno
Right.
doesn't.
I agree
Zeno
with that.
No Goku. He like he's just looking around, being like, "What the hell is this place? This shouldn't exist." And then he immediately goes to erase everything. So the stakes aren't. As a matter of fact, in that scenario, it's almost like Goku is summoning a being that is more dangerous to him than Zamasu, because if Zamasu kills Goku here, Goku's just going to go to the afterlife. But Zeno's literally getting ready to erase everything from existence. So this was a huge gamble and a huge risk on Goku's part, because Zeno does not know Goku at all. And he literally is getting ready to just erase everything immediately. So the stakes aren't immediately removed. But in the scenario that Goku does have access to the button, and he faces another villain like this, where basically they aren't in an area where Goku can just escape using the time machine, and let's say, for example, Zeno was summoned and they were dealing with a villain, and Zeno had a bias, and Zeno erases a villain out of bias. That would be bad. That would be horrible storytelling. That would be awful. But I don't think that they are ever going to do that. I think the button is only for this very specific scenario. And I do understand your criticism that Goku having the button consistently after this is not good. Like,
That's right. Well, having it at all, I think, at all.
I do think that, like, him having access to it, or like being willing to use it from this point on, is a problem. But in terms of like this specific situation, I never had that much of a problem with it, because to me, it doesn't necessarily remove the stakes completely in the way that the other scenario would, where Zeno does have a bias towards Goku.
But it's funny just because the button is almost like the nuclear codes. Like, when I hit this button, everybody dies. I don't know if that's really something Goku would vibe with.
No, probably not.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, I wish there was another way. If there was another way for Zeno to have appeared and actually been pissed off at this whole thing and nuked the timeline, I would have been okay with it. My issue is more so the button. Now, I will say this though. The button itself, and I did a short about this, is taken from an old Toku show. I believe it's called Green Man, where it's like a Kamen Rider wannabe type of show, and you push the button to call him. So Toriyama, I do like the fact, like, because I'm a fan of like old Japanese TV, like, I like that aspect of the button. But like, I just think that I think that one of the things that's hurt Dragon Ball Super's stakes is the fact that Goku's friends with all these gods. That's what I think is bad. Now, I will say this though, Jordan, to your point. If at the end of Super, like when Dragon Ball Super, when we're at the end of the story of Goku, if he ends up being friends with all these guys, I think that would be okay. But I think being friends now, when there's still more story to be told, just makes it so that, oh, well, Goku's got friends in high places. I
think even Toyotaro is aware that is a legitimate criticism.
I hope so.
I think that he is aware of that, because at the end of Dragon Ball Super, at the end of where we've been at the manga, Beerus actually gets upset with Goku and tells him to never come back. So I do think that they're trying to like kind of create some space between the gods and Goku, because I do think that they are realizing that like having constantly is a problem. I do think
but you know what's funny is this isn't even the only case. I think the Zeno button's the most extreme case, right? But there's also Goku training. There's the Whis reversing time thing. Goku training with Whis to learn, eventually learn UI. And then you've got Vegeta training with Beerus. I actually like that they're training with the gods. I like the idea of the idea of the main character learning from the deities. but I don't like the idea of him using the deities, and that's
Right.
always been and the thing is, I'm not saying that your reasonings are necessarily wrong. This comes down to an idea of personal taste. Do you like the
Yeah.
storytelling element or do you not? You seem to like the storytelling element. I do not. I like aspects of it. I do not like it. It's the same thing. We're probably going to have a very similar discussion, although I may change my mind when we get to Bardock, because I do not like the way the Granola arc used Bardock at all, and you seem to be at least a little more lenient to it.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of it, but I'll have a blast with that. That'll be great.
Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet because that's I don't want to think about that yet because I kind of want to stay more like it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I want to stay a little bit more in suspense because I want to like see it with fresh eyes. So,
Right.
so Zeno here, how annoying! Everything's messed up. What's going on now? Of course, the real question here shouldn't be not just is the button a good storytelling element? The story should be where the hell is why does Zeno not know about this? That's the one. And I know he's in his own realm, right? We know he's in his own realm, but don't you think that somebody would have been alerted to this going on?
Oh, you mean no? Well, I mean maybe, but I don't think they would care. I think that kind of goes into my point is that, like, you remember at the beginning of Tournament of Power, whenever Zeno's just like playing chess.
Destroying planets, of course.
Yeah,
he doesn't care.
Yeah, I don't think they watch the universes like that, nor do they care. Like, for example, like.
Well, he seems to care now. Look at him.
Well, he cares now because he finds it annoying that he was brought there, and that he even says it's annoying. He's like a kid. It's been brought to his attention, and he's like, so this is stupid. I don't want anything to do with this. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, let's just erase all this. Like, he's got a very short. You know how like if you buy a kid a toy.
By the way, this panel right here is this is my point that I was trying to make to you in the last discussion we had. Don't you want to erase them all? Yeah, I think so. Jordan, I'm gonna call my friend from the mafia, and I'm gonna have him take out my enemies so I don't have to. I'm just saying that's how it comes off, right there, yo.
Goku.
Yeah, you're right. I'll do it.
But I don't know. The fact that Goku is willing to have Zeno erase the entire timeline to me is wild. The fact that he's willing to, I mean, he really has no other choice. But the fact that he's just like, yeah, all of this. Basically, it's wild that Goku collectively makes the decision with Zeno that the entire thing should be erased, because Goku is way more actively involved in the decision here than he is in the anime. In the anime, he's basically just like, okay, we gotta go.
In the anime, just pushes the button, let's go, and then Zeno just does it. Yeah. That is true.
In this version, Goku's like, you should erase all this. Look at this. You know what I mean? So, to me, I find that, don't get me wrong, I do understand your criticism, but to me, I find that interesting. Because it kind of showed, to me, the purpose of this narratively to me, is to establish what Zeno's standards are for a universe. And that's that
I agree with. Yes.
That's going to go into the Tournament of Power.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of being used to transition into Zeno's role in the hierarchy. Like whenever we get to the Tournament of Power, like him erasing people and stuff like that. But like to me, it's more so. To me, it's interesting that Goku and Zeno are both pure of heart, and that they both, despite that, want this entire universe erased. I think that that's supposed to essentially kind of show you. When I always think of when I look at this scene, is I think of you remember that scene where Zamasu's drinking the tea?
Sure, we talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago.
And it's got the cloudy,
Oh yeah, the foreshadowing that he's evil.
Yeah. To me, this is almost as if the corruption within Zeno's heart, or within Zamasu's heart, corrupted the entire universe, and Zeno is coming in and purifying it from existence. So essentially, like
I picked up on that as well. Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, the purification thing.
Yeah. It's 10,000% a purification
It's
thing. Like
very similar, and I hate to say this, Jordan, but it's very similar to Old Testament God judgment.
it is
That's
very similar.
It's
It
very
is.
similar to that. Yeah. So,
It,
and that's the thing. That's the thing is, here's my thing. Here, I want to make this very clear to you and to everybody. Well, first of all, I'm glad you can come on here and then at the show I did last night with Draven and teach these kids how to have a disagreement with somebody without hating them. I'm really glad we could do that. But my disagreement with this is not so much that I don't, it's not that I don't disagree with the concepts and the ideas that you're presenting. That's not even what it is. What it is to me is that the ending itself, I don't like it. The ending itself to me should have been, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, right? Trunks cuts this motherfucker in half. Goku uses the Mafuba to trap the immortal side into the Denshi jar. And then the non-immortal side gets killed by either Vegeta or by whoever. Vegito, whatever you want, right? And then,
you want everybody to be involved in taking him down. You want Goku,
well,
Vegeta, and
yeah,
Trunks to all three.
that's because, but let me, oh, yes, but let me tell you why though. Yes, exactly. But let me tell you why, because those are the heroes of the arc. So like those three working together. Now there's one last thing I didn't get to tell you. When Immortal Zamasu gets put into the Genshi Shar, what if Goku gives it to Zeno and Zeno just goes and destroys it from inside the jar? See, that I would have liked more than him nuking the entire timeline. Even though you're right in that it is foreshadowing for the next arc and his power, that is the point. Jordan's not wrong about that. I just feel like they didn't have to go that far with it, and then you know the whole thing where Trunks has to go spend time with.
Yeah, you just like the idea of the characters finishing him off and the characters having some.
It was building to it. It was building to it.
The characters having some sort of merit in the sense that they are the ones that finishing them off. I understand why you feel that way.
Don't you think that would have been? Don't you think that would have been a better ending?
I don't know about better
for those three characters. Goku, Vegeta, Trunks.
The thing is I think the characters failing is important. I do think that you I do think what you're implying and what you are suggesting would be awesome. I'm not going to say it wouldn't be cool, but I do think that Vegeta, Goku, and Trunks seeing a scenario like this is ridiculously important, where they literally didn't have any other options and could not stop the threat. That like to me that it's important because Trunks last time he succeeded, okay. Last time he used the time machine, he went and got Goku. He stopped Cell. He's like last time.
Poor guys had it rough though.
Last time he pulled it off. So it seems like he can get away with stuff like this. But I do feel like Goku, Trunks, and Vegeta as characters do get too comfortable with this idea that they're going to be able to handle situations like this. So I do think that it's refreshing to see the characters fail and have to deal with the fact that they did fail and learn from that, because that's you just don't see that very often for these characters. You just like most of the time they succeed. Most of the time,
they usually fail before they succeed.
Well, most of the time they succeed because they have some sort of help too. Like for example, Goku has the Spirit Bomb countless times. He's always got his friends there. He's always got, there's always something there to make sure that these characters pull out. And in this case, it's Zeno. But like, seeing the characters themselves not actually get to have that. I know it would be very satisfying as a reader, which is why you want that.
But it's not just that. The whole thing with Trunks, if they were going to do this, Trunks should have just stayed in the present. I think everybody wants that. You know what I mean? Stayed there in the present and just chilled in the mountains with Mai. And then you could...
That would have been dope.
That's what I'm saying. That's what everybody wanted. And instead, like and the anime version makes it worse. Is he's like crying, saying he failed, and
actually, the anime version I like more, and I'll tell you why. I was actually getting ready to get into that. The one thing that I think the manga version doesn't have that the anime version does have So, do you remember that filler where Goku or Gohan and Trunks are hanging out?
The
And
ice cream episode. That's what I
yeah,
call it.
yeah,
The
yeah,
ice
yeah,
cream
yeah,
episode.
yeah. You know, there's this like huge, there's this huge difference between Trunks and Gohan in the sense that Gohan is living this like really peaceful world, and Trunks is like from
Yes.
this post-apocalyptic world, and you can
Yeah.
see just by looking at them the difference between the two timelines.
Trunks
Because
is like, who is this guy?
well, Gohan's literally like dressed up like Mr. Rogers, and like
Right.
like Trunks is like wearing this like beat up, ripped up post-apocalyptic clothing, and you can just look at both of them and see the difference between the two timelines and the two different worlds. The thing that I really like about the ending of the anime and the anime in general is that Gohan is involved. And that is not a part. That's not in this arc at all. They don't have. That's not a part of this arc. They
Yeah, they
completely.
didn't play up on the relationship between Trunks
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Gohan.
So part of the reason that they can get away with Trunks' timeline being erased in the anime is because at the very end of the anime, Gohan goes to Trunks, and Trunks realizes that the only reason that new timeline exists, where his master Gohan gets to live his dream life, is because of all of the effort that Trunks
That
went into.
yes, that is true. That's
Like,
something that was the whole purpose of all that.
yeah, it was to show that, even though Trunks failed at protecting his own timeline, he still was the reason that this perfect timeline existed, where Gohan could live his dream life and actually get to have his family and actually get to. So essentially, it was like honoring his master in some sense, which I really, really liked. I loved that. Now, in this specific scenario, this part of the ending is actually not my problem. It's actually the stuff that happens after in the manga that is my problem, because
What's coming up next?
yeah, because you don't have the Gohan stuff, because the Gohan stuff I think is the biggest justification narratively for Trunks' universe being erased. Even more so than Zeno's standard for universes. I think that worked. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Zeno's standard for universes also suffices in some sense because it has some narrative. It has some narrative value, but the fact that like Trunks, there was some sort of merit in Trunks' effort, in the sense that his master and like all these people that he'd worked so hard to protect actually do get to exist in this like ideal timeline, I think is like very, very important to the storytelling. Now, the two things that I don't like about this, what's getting ready to happen, is they don't focus on that. Okay, they don't.
Well, wait. Do you want me to get there first, and then you can make your point? Okay. Well, before I do, though, I do have a couple of questions I want to address real quick, because there's some people that were waiting, and then I do want to jump to because I'm curious about what you're going to say, because I don't think I've ever talked to you about this. I don't recall ever having a conversation with you off the air or here about what you're about to talk about.
You didn't heard this from me. Yeah.
Yeah, I have not heard this from you, and I'm curious about it. I was just real quick. Go even further says, is there a reason Toriyama felt he had to erase the timeline in some way to make things make sense or something like that? No, it's what. We talked about. Go ahead.
It's just to narratively show you Zeno's standard for universes and what he himself would erase a universe over. Essentially, like I said, Zamasu corrupted the universe. He's supposed to be a narrative representation of the corruption within your heart, and Zeno is supposed to be a narrative representation of the pure of heart. So Zeno is essentially coming into the universe and purging the universe of the corruption that Zamasu represents. It's more so abstract narrative storytelling in that sense than it is like on the surface narrative storytelling. Like Zamasu is supposed to narratively represent corruption, and Zeno is narratively supposed to represent purification, and that's essentially what Toriyama was going for here. Go ahead.
No, I would say I felt like I'm not. That's not how I took it. I'm not saying you're wrong. That's not how I took it. I just took it as Toriyama did it to show, or Toyotaro, or probably both of them, to show that Zeno can do that as a preview of the next arc, to like say, hey, this is what he can do.
It's both. Yeah, it's both. It's definitely both.
Yeah. I mean, that was my answer. That was my the first that popped in my head. Okay, let's get through these real quick. So, Random Hero says access to the power doesn't matter. It's unpredictable. Supreme Kai says, should the button have been a one-time use? Well, so far it was a one-time use, but my problem is not just with the button. I'm going to get back on the big screen here. My problem is not just necessarily with the button. It's with the fact that Whis helped Goku in the Resurrection F arc, which, you know, we talked about. Zeno helps them here, and then in the Moral arc, you've got freaking Mirrors helping them. So that's now 3 times that God's got involved. In fact, at the end of the Moral arc, there's a part where Goku's about is fighting Planet Eater Moro in the planet, and Beerus is like, I better get in there and handle this. And that's my problem, is that they've always got somebody else there. Oh, well, if Goku can't do it, we'll take over and do it. And it's like, no, Goku, this story has always been about Goku and his friends overcoming problems. The minute you've got gods doing it for you, that's my issue. It feels like a cheat code, Jordan. That's my issue. It's not just the button.
I will say, though, I think Dragon Ball Z doesn't make it as on the nose. But I do think Dragon Ball Z does do very similar things, you know, through the Dragon Balls, King Kai, you know, there's
they teach Goku, but they don't help Goku directly. You know what I mean?
They do use the Dragon Balls on Namek and in the Buu Saga. But in the Cell Saga particularly, there is no help in the Cell Saga. That's probably the biggest example is the Cell Saga. Like they actually do pull through on their own in that arc. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. You want to see the characters be self-sufficient and be able to take care of themselves, which is really funny because that's also what the gods want. If you remember back in Dragon Ball, Kami told Goku.
Yes, that Kami did say that.
Yeah, he was like, I want you to be able to take care of your own problems and not rely on the gods, right? Like, he had the same criticism for the mortals, so it's really ironic that you feel that way. But what I'll say is that the only reason the narrative can get away with that within Dragon Ball Super, which I do understand your criticism, and it's a valid criticism, but the only reason that the narrative can get away with that within Super is because Goku befriends the gods.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it should have gone that far.
It's because
that's my issue.
They're taking the Goku effect, where Goku
and going it to the
They're taking it to the gods, and
I get it.
In some sense, I mean that makes sense. But I do agree with you that at a certain point, that needs to be dropped. Like the idea, the idea of the gods.
You are now making my point. Yes, at some point we can't have them always being there as the training wheels. That's my issue. That's why what would be kick-ass is if we get a story where Black Frieza really does figure out how to take over the multiverse, and then we've got an issue. Again, that's for down the road. As far as should the Zeno button be a one-time use, I think so. The only way I could see it being used again is for Zeno, is more so for support than Zeno actually doing what he did. Which do you prefer, Zeno buttons or muffin buttons? A false supreme god ended by the true supreme god. Yeah, well, that, in a way, yeah. Junior says, out of the super arcs thus far, 2 out of the 4 arcs have godly assistance. It's more like 3 out of 6 because remember, you have to remember Mirrors in Moro. Without them, the heroes are cooked, making this plot convenience more repetitive. He's right about that as well. That was the point that we were talking about a minute ago.
Yeah.
And then El Nerdy Senpai says, using Geekdom's ending, the characters going back in time was the part they failed, and coming back with the Mafuba was the solution to finish him. Well, yeah, that was the idea, and the Mafuba didn't even
pull that off if they didn't screw it up.
Yeah, they changed it. Yeah. Oh, I gave him the wrong seal, and then in the anime version, it never happens. In the anime version, didn't Goku didn't Trunks learn it from GodTube, right?
No, he learned it from Piccolo. Piccolo recorded him.
It was a video. That's right. That Bulma showed. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. And Piccolo hated it too. He absolutely hates it.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Okay, so back in the present day here, everybody comes back. This is kind of like
pull the manga up on the screen, man.
Oh shit, I'm so sorry. My bad. I thought it was on the screen. Okay. Because I see it on my screen. Okay, it should be back up now. So okay, they're back in the present time. Here we have the destruction. When the timeline gets destroyed, the time ring got destroyed, and that was a really nice touch. That wasn't in the anime version. So we're back in the present time. This is everybody kind of celebrating, and this is the aftermath of the big battle. It's definitely different than what happened in the anime. Because Jordan, you remember in the anime, Zamasu was getting so strong that he was starting to affect the other timelines, and that was something we'd never seen before.
Yeah, that's true.
They said that.
We're getting to my criticism for the end of this arc. So my criticism, is that the Gohan stuff is gone. Okay.
Yes, you mentioned that.
Don't get me wrong. They do try to comfort Trunks, but it doesn't hit the same. It doesn't hit like in the anime. It's like they really do a good job making you feel good about Trunks' efforts, and Trunks feel good about his efforts. They don't really do that here because it's in manga form and there's no music. They didn't do the Gohan thing. Like, they don't do a good job, like, making Trunks feel like he's accomplished something just by extension of this timeline and its self-existent. And that's one of my main problems with this ending, is that they don't really hammer home as much as they should that Trunks' actions in the end had some form of merit. They don't really hammer
It's almost like he's thrown to the side.
Yeah. I don't like that. Now,
he did him so much less in this arc than he could have, too.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that I don't like about the ending of this is what Pilaf does with the time machine. I do not like what Pilaf does with the time machine, and I'll tell you why. Because
this right here, the flux capacitor bullshit.
Yeah, because it completely changes. It fundamentally changes how time travel works in Dragon Ball. Okay, now what this implies is that they can travel to all different kinds of futures. Now, the problem with that is the time rings imply that there are only so many timelines, okay? Now, I do understand that this isn't necessarily a plot hole, because what he is implying is that they can use this to go.
He's doing a Reed Richards, Jordan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, essentially, he's created a machine where they can go to alternate futures that would exist based on different scenarios. It's almost like a timeline.
It's like the Kang the Conqueror gimmick that he has, where he can go to any timeline he wants, like that.
Well, it's more than that, because basically what he's implying is this is the problem. The second that he uses the time machine for this, you remember Loki, whenever all the timelines were branching out.
Yeah, the loom.
And there was more and more and more branches just like forming like crazy, to the point that it was just like, destructive and chaotic. That's what this is going to cause. That's what this is going to cause. This is going to cause, what he's doing is he is creating thousands of branches at once.
So you're saying he's doing what Captain America's blamed for doing in Doomsday, because that's the story that he's going to get blamed for sticking with the past with Peggy, which, brother, she has a nice set of titties, bro. She's the worst day in the past for, and he's going to fuck up the entire multiverse because of his dick. That's by the way, that's a very guy thing to do.
Yeah, if Pilaf was to use
Pilaf is cat, bro.
If he wants to use it for what he programmed it to be used for, then luckily they just used it to go to a copy of Trunks' timeline, which is fine. But if he was to use it to like go to an alternate timeline that doesn't exist, that would just completely break everything. Like, basically what he's done is like very, very dangerous, because he's taken the concept of the time machine being a timeline generator and he's pushed it to the next level. Like now it can literally generate timelines based on just like scenarios.
And the dangerous thing about this is that, and if you understand basic power scaling, because there's more than one Zeno, because the future Zeno and the present Zeno are two different beings, that means that Zeno is not omniversal. That means that there's not one Zeno that governs all the timelines. Therefore, as far as we know, there are no gods that govern the timeline. So if there is a string theory explosion like what Jordan's talking about, it could actually get out of control. Unless, and I am going to throw in an unless here, they throw in the lore from Heroes with the Supreme Kai of Time and all that. That if they start throwing stuff like that in, then okay. But none of the, but none. What?
This is almost a justification for that.
Well, yes, it is a justification for that. And that's the thing that's funny about it is they could figure out a way to take those video game only ideas like the Toki Toki, the bird laying timelines and the time scrolls and all that shit and integrate it into the main Dragon Ball story. But they haven't done that, so it's probably not going to happen. Although I do think that age 3000 or age 1000, aka Xenoverse 3, I mixed up the two names there. I can't look. I'm not going to go into it here. It's on my Patreon, patreon.com/geekdom101 tier 3 and 4. There's a very interesting storyline in Xenoverse 3 involving this very problem that Jordan's talking about. The fact that timelines are out of control branching. That is one of the major things going on in Xenoverse 3. And that's an exclusive for the Patreon. So check out the Patreon tier 3, tier 4 because it's a new idea. Well, it's not new. Marvel has some. It's similar to like Kang the Conqueror, but not quite. But there are some new ideas for Dragon Ball that kind of go with what Jordan's saying about how now everything's going to be out of control. Yep. So I don't think I've told you. Have I told you? Maybe I did and I forgot. Did I show you the pictures?
No, you haven't.
Okay. Okay, I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you later. Yeah, because I got them months ago and I was like, oh, okay. All right, so now Goku takes Zeno to Zeno. They meet for the first time. Beerus is like, there's two of them now? It was like that line from Star Wars, there are two of them now. Like it's the same shit. So then they're going to play around. This is, of course, as we talked about, a setup for the next arc. Trunks has a shirt that says Super DB on it. Very meta, very fourth wall breaking. And now, so they're saying that they want to go to a timeline before Zamasu and Dabra show up, and that was way before.
See, that's another thing that they don't really. That's another thing they don't do here. Like, okay, in the anime, when Trunks is hanging out with Gohan, Trunks, when he looks at like Gohan enjoying himself in his timeline, he's like, man, that's what my timeline would be if Black never showed up. So we actually like get a scene where Trunks talks about how his timeline would be that sort of peaceful timeline that he wanted if Black never showed up. Like he talks about that openly, like he audibly says it and fantasizes about the idea of that timeline being peaceful. And that, at least in some sense, justifies Trunks wanting to go back to his timeline, because if he can go to a version of his timeline where Black never existed, then maybe he can have this ideal timeline that he never got to have, that he saw Gohan had. But they don't really have that here. They don't, like, a lot of the motivation that they give Trunks to take another stab at like going back to his timeline.
Another stab. I see what you did there.
Yeah. They don't really give him as much of that motive in the manga, and I think that's one of my biggest issues with it. It's just like it, Trunks is kind of, like you said, he's kind of thrown to the side in the sense that like they don't really pad out his emotions and his motivations the way that they should.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Clappin' Cheek says, I think the next tournament, the winner should be rewarded more planets to help boost the mortal level, changing the ranks, giving the lower universe a chance to avoid being dragged into a Xeno 1 versus Xeno 2 team. Well, the issue, okay, you're talking about like another tournament of power. And I think if they do another one, it will be different because here's something you have to keep in mind. If the prize of the tournament of power is, well, the winners get more planets to boost, right? They don't need more planets, bro, because they have gods of creation there to create planets. The issue is not the need for more planets. They have Supreme Kais that are basically their job is to do that. The issue is they're not taking care of the planets properly with the gods of destruction. Now, you have to also remember something else too about your idea. The reason why the TOP worked the first time is because the universes were actually in danger of being wiped out. If you do a situation where there's a tournament and the prize is you get more planets, most of the characters aren't going to give a fuck. Goku doesn't care about getting more planets. Vegeta doesn't. Jiren doesn't. Frieza might, but the rest of them don't. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, it wouldn't be enough to motivate them to join. But, and like I said, the Supreme Kais can create planets, so they've already got that ability. Did you want to add anything?
Well, it also kind of goes against what the gods tried to do. They tried to be hands off about their development. And, you know, I'm not saying that you can't give the gods a boost sometimes if they've earned it. Like, in that sense, I kind of like your idea, but it also kind of goes against the principles that Kwasu talks about in this arc about being hands-off, about developing planets and mortals and stuff like that. So that's part of the reason I don't think they would go for it. Now, personally, in terms of them ever having another tournament, which I think that's a good topic, I don't think that they'll ever have another tournament of power. If they ever have another tournament,
it would be very different.
Well, if they ever have another tournament, I think it'll be a god tournament. I think it'll be like gods fighting each other in a tournament. Gods or candidates for being gods. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that is more interesting. Is having like a god tournament. I think that would be cool. I don't think you could ever replicate the stakes of the tournament of power or the narrative of it ever again. So I don't think that'll ever happen.
The Tournament of Power was almost like what the original Secret Wars was supposed to be. Like, literally, I know Marvel's doing it now, but it was that kind of idea where, you know, everything's at stake, but people don't know everything's at stake. So, I want to say one thing real quick about this question. Would you say Dragon Ball's in a better place now than ever it was in its past peaks? No, I would not say that. Akira Toriyama just died. Yes, we have new stuff coming, but the new stuff now does not compare to the...
If you're talking about business-wise, hell
well,
no.
Yeah, business. Well, there's yes and there's no. Okay, business-wise, the video games do way better now than they ever have before. That we know for sure. Merchandise-wise, yes, Dragon Ball's super high up right now, better than ever. But business-wise, meaning viewership and popularity, it's not anywhere near where it was in the 80s and 90s, right. Especially in Japan. In Japan, when Dragon Ball was first running from Toriyama, this thing was an obsession. This newer Dragon Ball, some of those older fans never came back. I've talked about that before on stream. A lot of us, because we were younger when we got into it, we're all back now. But the people that were in their like 30s when Dragon Ball and Z were airing, a lot of them just never came back, or they checked out a movie here and there, you know. So yeah, it's kind of like the whole thing with wrestling. Like, pro wrestling is making more money now, but as far as viewership goes, listen. Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant in 1988 drew 44 million people on television. It is the most watched pro wrestling match in history. 44 million. That's how Dragon Ball and Z were compared to Super. So yeah, it just depends on what we're talking about.
Yeah, so just to expand on it a little bit. I do think we have the potential to be in a very, very culturally dominant era for Dragon Ball.
I agree with you on that.
Once we get into like the Galactic Patrol stuff, and if the manga comes back,
it could be another boom period.
Yeah, there could be another period of time where Dragon Ball has a huge impact on the culture of the world and all that good stuff. But the modern era is never going to compare to the impact that Dragon Ball had in the past. It's just never going to, because it's not a new product. We live in a Netflix subscription world where everything blends together and looks the same. and people take things for granted. Like
I agree with that.
I guarantee you, like, you know, a lot of the streaming service stuff that they're moving to, okay, it people are going to take that for granted. They're not going to appreciate that. That's another huge thing that's happening in the modern world that a lot of people like just don't wrap their minds around. The type of world that we live in, there is no appreciation for media in general in comparison to whenever me and Danny were kids. Because when me and Danny were kids, we had to wait every week to watch an episode of Dragon Ball Z. And when that episode of Dragon Ball Z came on, we were extremely, extremely appreciative of that because we had been waiting on that all week, right?
Well, remember, the Toonami era was every day, but then there were long breaks. We had to wait months in between the arcs.
Right. So,
yeah.
So, you know, we're never going to live in an era where we're appreciative of stuff like that, like we used to live in. Like it's not going to be this. It's never going to be the same. It's not going to be. The series is going to come out on a streaming service. You're going to appreciate it. You're going to watch it, and you're going to enjoy it for that time. But in terms of, you know, us living in an era where culturally, you know, the build up to Dragon Ball being a dominant force, where it's like culturally dominant and just like has such a stranglehold on the entire planet, we're in the aftermath of that. We're not.
But I think you're right in that we are going to get another little boom period next year and the year after. Like that's for sure. It's kind of like you have to think of it like different like peaks and valleys. In the 80s and 90s, it was at the absolute peak, and then for a while it went down when Toriyama retired and there were new games. Then the games picked it up a little bit. Then Heroes in Japan, really, people don't understand. Dragon Ball Heroes in Japan was a massive thing for Dragon Ball. Brought in a whole new crop of kids. Then then came the Super era, another boom period, and now we're about to get another one here very soon. But then after that's going to go down again.
Super was like a contained version of what a lot of people from mine and Danny's era got to experience as a kid, where you were
except it was all at once because the whole world experienced it at once.
It was very quick. It happened very quickly. It was great while it lasted. It was a hell of a ride. And we'll get something akin to that when we get the Galactic Patrol stuff. But again, because we're going into the streaming era, it's never going to be the same. Because the way that things are going to be released, you're not going to have that same hype factor that we had watching weekly episodes during Dragon Ball Super or monthly or yearly or whatever. You're not going to have that. So yes, I do think that Dragon Ball is always going to have like a big place in our culture, and it's always going to be culturally dominant. But is it going to have the stranglehold that it had on culture back in the day? No, that's just never going to. It's unrealistic.
Yeah, I agree. So if you miss commercials so much, bro, I'll tell you what I'll do. Next time I stream, I'm gonna turn up the amount of ads that the stream has. So just for you, bro. Just everybody, make sure you thank him, bro, for all, because he really wants commercials. So I'm gonna give it to him. All right, so you're gonna get it. Anyways, all right. So Trunks goes back to the future. They say their goodbyes, and now we have a period of peace for a very brief time. Goku's back on the farm again. There's this little caper with these guys. This to me was just whatever. It's kind of fun as like almost like a little filler episode. No big deal. Goku takes care of these guys.
That guy. This is okay. So, can you go back a little bit before he takes off with the? Go back a few pages because I want to point something out that's really cool.
Here?
Oh yeah. So this marketplace and this whole scene. So that field, that rice paddy field that he's driving into right there, is from Cashman. Basically, it's being implied here that Goku is temporarily in Slope Town, which is the city.
It's like an Easter egg. Really?
Yeah. And you can go ahead and skip a few pages. But this whole entire scene takes place within Slope Town, which is the town that Cashman's from. And we actually get to see the Slope Town police from Cashman here in a few minutes. They actually just straight up show the Slope Down police force, so that way you know for a fact that this is Slope Town.
This
But,
over
like,
here?
Yeah, that cop right there, that police station, that is the Slope Town police station. That is the Slope Town chief of police. So this whole scene takes place within like the Cashman universe almost.
I mean, it's kind of like when you have Pola and Royd making cameos in like the Boo saga, you know?
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
type of shit.
yeah.
Bob Zor said, I had no idea Dragon Ball even came back for a while. I mean, I saw people yesterday who had no idea what Dragon Ball Super Beerus was, so I'm not surprised. Some people just are disconnected. Bob Zor says, bro, I bought YouTube Premium, so fuck them. All right. Good for you, bro. I'm glad that you're here with YouTube Premium. And yes, Slopestown does have a funny name, especially since the word slope is considered a racial slur against Asian people who create this series. I find it funny. So
Hunter said this scene impacted me so much that my brother has a Nerf gun and I tried to catch the dart.
are you serious, bro?
Yeah.
This scene?
That's so funny.
You better be careful with that, bro. You better
Yeah,
be
don't
careful with
reply.
that. Yeah. So, meanwhile, in the other world, Vegeta's training with Whis, which of course he needs it. He always likes to train. Whis is, of course, teaching him and actually saying that Vegeta's gotten better. The Oracle Fish appears, and basically Beerus wants to step in. This, of course, would later.
Beerus asks the Oracle Fish if Goku and Vegeta really are his rivals, and he says, "Yeah." So
This would
that's
lead to the training later.
Yeah, this is basically the Oracle Fish confirming that Vegeta can catch up to Beerus, but Beerus thinks that's absolutely ridiculous, so he wants to show off, in that sense.
Yeah. Well, Vegeta and Beerus here have a little scrap. It's not in the anime. I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoy these chapters or these pages. At first, I remember, that's one thing I will say is when I first was reading these, I thought they were kind of time fillers, to be honest, but I do enjoy this. And if Toyotaro already had the idea of making Vegeta be Beerus' student, I think this is a great way to see that.
Yeah.
Because remember, we never saw Beerus and Vegeta fight. Goku fought Beerus in Battle of Gods.
Yeah, Vegeta is way more of a focus in the manga for obvious reasons. Because
Toyotaro's a mark for him? Is that why you're saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is all just good. It's not, I don't think it's Toriyama level. Again, it's hard to say, well, Daddy, stop comparing Toyotaro to Toriyama, but it's like we have to because this is his story. Like, but, and obviously it's not like Toyotaro doesn't have talent, but Toriyama's paneling was second to none in my view. But I do like some of these. I love this one right here, Vegeta getting knocked away. I love him going in the water and rising up slowly. Here he is with his eyes closed. This is what he's doing right here, folks. See how he came out with his eyes closed and then boom, the steam? This is Vegeta using completed blue.
Yeah. Yeah, and he says right here, anything Goku can do, I can do too.
Yeah, if Kakarot can do it, so can I. And then Beerus is like, okay, let's see how good you do. And I mean, Vegeta's able to dodge and block, but Beerus is not really trying his full power.
What I like about what Beerus says here, and he says that is just a power up. Like, that's not enough to keep up with me. And to me, that, if we're going back to what you said about like Toyotaro thinking about Vegeta being Beerus' apprentice, I don't think he intended this at the time because I don't think Ultra Ego was a thing at the time. I don't think he'd come up with
No,
that.
but I think he may have had it in the back of his head, like maybe someday we can do something with these two characters.
Yeah, and I also think that it served as good foreshadowing for Ultra Ego. Because with Ultra Ego, Vegeta just continuously gets stronger as he's fighting. It's not just a power up like Super Saiyan. He just continuously gets stronger as he's fighting. And so it works in the sense that it's almost like Beerus trying to communicate to Vegeta, you'll never be able to keep up with me just using a power. You have to be able to tap into your ability to just consistently get stronger and improve as a fighter if you're ever going to have a chance in defeating me. And I'm pretty sure that Beerus even says that you couldn't catch up to me in thousands of years at this rate. So
It's a good little fight, bro. Like it's really a good manga exclusive, you know. And Beers isn't even using his max power. Okay, so this guy John says, are we going to ignore the fact there will be two future Trunks and Mai being in the same new timeline? No, because I talked about it at length back then when this stuff was first coming out, both the anime and manga. Jordan and I already talked about that earlier, and I talked about how I didn't like that arc, or I didn't like that aspect of the ending. He should have stayed in the present. And 3, guess what? We're going to probably talk about it again next year when the Trunks arc remake comes out. So it's not about ignoring it. We have talked about it, and we're going to talk about it again because it's going to come back again, I'm sure. I don't think they're changing that ending, bro. I think some people want them to change it and change it so that Trunks sticks around or something like that. I don't see them changing major stuff like that.
Well, I agree with you, and I also think part of the reason for that is
Toriyama's passing?
well, no. I think people have a very unrealistic idea of how to properly handle storytelling. And now what I mean by that is Trunks sticking around, I think, is a great idea. I love it. I love Trunks being a part of the future story of Dragon Ball Super. I think it's great. But it does add an extra layer of responsibility as a writer to make sure that you handle Trunks' character correctly.
That's
and
true
that
as well.
He's also relevant. So
that's true as well. That's challenging.
Likely the decision to take Trunks out of the picture was a Toriyama decision due to the fact that he just didn't want to touch Trunks' character anymore because it is a responsibility. Now, I've heard people complain a lot about characters not getting shine, not getting enough attention, particularly like TN, Yamcha fans, like fans of like the old school characters that have been like thrown to the side years ago. I hear people complain about that all the time, but that is just a natural side effect of a story like this where you're constantly
That's the problem.
Yeah, you're constantly introducing new characters, and once you make the roster so big, it essentially convolutes the story too much to where you can't tell. A
lot of TV shows have that issue, Jordan. It's not just Dragon Ball. A lot of shows have that problem.
And I think that Toriyama and Toyotaro are trying to avoid that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Because the worst thing that could ever happen is if Trunks becomes the next Yamcha, where he's like so weak he can't keep up. It actually would be better, I think, if they do eventually bring Trunks back for another story arc where he's traveling back in time. Something else happens in his timeline. He needs their help, or something involving, like maybe in the video games, a Time Lord villain or something like that. I think having Trunks, future Trunks, be associated with time travel, I think that could happen, and I wouldn't mind it if Trunks stayed in the past after that. But again, I'm talking about when Dragon Ball ends. Like I said, the idea of Trunks staying in the past or Goku becoming best friends with Zeno, I think the only issue I have with that is I think it's happening too soon in the narrative. That needs to be something where we're actually wrapping up the series. And here's the truth, yo. I don't know if this series is going to end ever or at any time soon, because if Toyotaro is going to be the guy in charge with Akio, then we can get another, like we talked about it so many times, another 10, 15 years of new Dragon Ball stories. I mean, we don't know. We do not know. They've not said the manga's over. They keep saying the same thing. It's on hiatus. It's on hiatus. So presumably there's something else coming. And if you listen to my hotline on the Geekdom 101 Patreon, I told you some stuff about Toyotaro that has not been reported anywhere. So the Patreon is the place to be for the real news, bro. That's where we get the real scoops.
I'm gonna do a cool little plug here because I don't ever.
Don't give it away. Go ahead.
I'm not going to give anything away. So if you do want to see like a hypothetical sequel to the Trunks arc, you can go to Paul Risingfist's channel. I actually wrote a sequel to the future Trunks arc where he comes back. You can go watch it on that channel. Like if you're like interested in like watching like a fan made sequel to the future Trunks arc.
Is there a title that they can click on?
Yeah, the Return of Goku Black is the
Oh yeah, I remember the Return of Goku Black.
Yeah. So if you're interested in, like, if you're bored and you want to watch like a sort of like animated comic type thing, there's like an animanga type thing that I have on Paul Risingfist's channel called The Return of Goku Black. If you want to go watch that, I would highly recommend it. We put a lot of effort into it, and it's a good watch. So.
This is what you were talking about right here, where Beerus said, "At this rate, it'll take 1,000,000 years to become my rival."
Yep.
You know, and then of course, Beer.
1,000,000,000, yeah.
And I like how he says he puts them over. I'll give you points for improving. You could probably be a candidate for a god of destruction in another universe. So he's basically, Beerus is basically saying these other gods of destruction still ain't on my level. Which
Right, that is what he's saying.
And here's the thing. I made a whole video about this. Manga Beerus is more powerful than anime Beerus. Toyotaro really OP'd manga Beerus more than the anime Beerus, especially during the TOP. We'll see how the remake handles it. And then Vegeta says, I mean, they still have a long way to go. Kakarot and I are equal, so far from reaching our full potential. So yeah, we're not even close to do that. And then this right here, I'm the one who will get to the top first. I'm sick of following after him. So this could be some foreshadowing for Ultra Ego, although I don't think he had that idea in mind.
It wasn't purposeful foreshadowing, but it works as foreshadowing.
It works, yeah. So here we have pregnant Bulma, who's pregnant with Vegeta's second daughter, Bra. I'm not going to call her Bulla because I don't like that censored-ass name. Her name is Bra, as in what girls wear on their titties, because the whole family's based on underwear. Bloomers, trunks, briefs, and now bras. It's Toriyama's little goofy humor, bro. Okay, so moving on here, Goku goes to hang out with the gods, his friends, and he wants to go talk to Zeno because Goku wants to fight. And then they end up going to meet Zeno. And now there's some pretty interesting things that happen here in this manga chapter. By the time this chapter came out, the anime version was already like way past this, right? Yeah. But it basically, this is where they're talking about where they're playing chess that you were talking about, and this is where the Grand Priest is like reporting to him that the universe's hierarchy levels have started to go down a little bit. And now Zeno's like, really? See, when people say shit, and Jordan, this was a big thing a few years ago, that, oh, well, Goku's to blame for the Tournament of Power. It pisses me off so much because this is typical of what people on the internet do when it comes to Dragon Ball. They take one piece of a story and ignore the rest of it. And when you put in context for the rest of it, suddenly the one piece of the story is eroded. And it's so stupid. Goku telling Zeno to do the Tournament of Power was their saving grace. Had Goku not done that, Zeno was going to kill a bunch of universes just based on their mortal level. Whis even talks about that happening in the previous arc. Goku actually saved the multiverse by giving them a chance. But these fucking people on social media, well, Goku's the reason they were all in danger. Fuck, bro. Like, I hate when they do that. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, well, Trunks with Ultra Super Saiyan with grade 3. He's stronger than Gohan, but just not as fast. No, bro. Gohan is physically stronger than Trunks, bro. In speed, stamina, power. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan against grade 3 Trunks, bro. That's ice cream and horse manure. It's a whole different level, bro. But like you hear what they do, Jordan, is they take a little piece of the story, and it's when Cell said, "You're even stronger than me." People take that piece of the manga out, and then they forget that Cell literally gets buff himself and goes, "See, I can do it too," but it's too slow, proving to Trunks that he's not stronger than him.
Yeah, and Cell also powers up against
Gohan an extra level up.
Yep.
Twice, actually. Twice.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you can't read half of a story and leave out the second fucking half when the second half like is part of the entire story.
Yeah,
like
and
you can't. This is why you shouldn't skip Dragon Ball.
The thing is I think a lot of people just see Goku behaving in like a cheeky, mischievous way because he is cheeky and mischievous.
He is. He's kind of a kid.
Yeah, and they just assume that they basically like, they assign intention to Goku in that sense. And Goku's not, it doesn't intend for anything to go wrong. And he does save the universes by going to suggest the tournament. But, I think people just, Goku, it is a selfish decision on the surface for him to go talk to Zeno, especially knowing how volatile he was at the end of the last arc. It is a selfish decision, but he feels like he's in good standing with them because he brought one Zeno to the other. They both like him. He feels like he's in good standing, so he's comfortable with them. If he wasn't,
then everyone else is scared of him.
Right. If he wasn't comfortable with them, he wouldn't feel that way. And I think that that's the biggest distinction, is that even though Goku seems overconfident and arrogant by going to talk to Zeno, he really doesn't have any reason to doubt himself. Like, he really doesn't have any reason to doubt that Zeno will just do what he wants. Like, everything has worked out for him so far in terms of, like, his interactions with Zeno, so he really doesn't have any reason to doubt himself. But I do kind of understand why people jump to that conclusion, but you could...
I do too, but they're missing a part of the story.
Yeah. You would only jump to that conclusion if you just looked at that page and nothing else.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
That is exactly my point. Just like the page when Cell tells Trunks, "You're actually stronger than me," and then proves that he's not right after, like maybe a few minutes after in screen time. So, okay.
Before we move on to the Tournament Power Stuff, I just want to show this off real quick. I sent you my design for Trunks.
Yes, which one do I put? Both of them?
Yeah, just show both of them. So this, you were talking about the two Trunkses fusing. This is hypothetically two Trunkses fusing while one of them is wearing the Supreme Kai outfit. And this was the design that I came up with for Trunks on the Rising Fist channel for Fused Trunks, a Potara Fused Trunks. So, just to kind of give you an idea of kind of what happens in the story, the two Trunks do fuse, and they kind of like take advantage of fusing to like combine their powers and be able to like better protect the new timeline. And it's funny because in the story, the Mai's end up fusing too. Not to spoil too much, but that's ultimately like the conclusion that I came to was the best thing to do with the copies of Mai and Trunks.
I made jokes like that years ago. I was like, maybe they confused when they were together in their own timeline.
Yeah.
And you did it. You made it out into a little story. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool little fun fact: the planet, or the triangle, the Destroyer's planet.
This right here.
Yeah. That was originally Beerus's planet. That was
right.
The original. That was originally the design that Toriyama came up with for Beerus's planet. But then they redesigned it and reused it for this scene. So that was
the tree wasn't in the middle.
That was originally supposed to be what Beerus's planet was going to look like, and then they changed it.
It's an upside down pyramid, basically.
Well, the other one is too. It's just it doesn't have that tower at the top.
Right. It has the tree.
Yeah. The aesthetic of it doesn't have, it has green grass instead of blue grass. It's just completely different.
Yeah. Well, this is the joke that I made all those years ago. What Sora Cloud said. Yes. What if the future of the fused Trunks fucks the fused Mai? That, of course, you're going to think about that. So here they call all the gods of destruction and the angels to Zeno's dimension. We see like little cameos around the multiverse. We were already introduced to these designs for the anime. Fun fact, Toyotaro designed half of these and Toriyama designed the other half. I think folks forgot about that. Some of these designs are Toyotaro originals, which I believe that was the first thing that Toyotaro ever designed that the anime used, which is the other gods of destruction.
Yeah.
And they're in Daima as well. Well, the Supreme Kais are, not the gods of destruction. Yeah. What do you think now after all these years about the way they look, and how do you feel about this concept?
Well, what I find very interesting about them, especially post Daima, is they're all either animal or demons. Like they're all either like animals or they're
like maybe from the demon realm.
Yeah, they have pointy ears. Yeah, so I find that very interesting, and I think they did that on purpose. Because I think like the idea of like animals being like destructive and stuff like that is very, very common in storytelling. Now, I will say Belmont is the exception to that rule.
Belmont's awesome, bro. With the women feeding him grapes.
But he has a pretty cool, but like more fleshed out backstory in comparison to a lot of the other gods of destruction, because, you know, he used to be a pride trooper, and then he gave up his ideology as a pride trooper to become a god of destruction. So he's just a bit more fleshed out as a god of destruction. And I think part of that is that Toyotaro, obviously, it's his avatar picture on Twitter. He has a sort of a bias for Belmont, because not only did he design him, but you could tell like he like genuinely enjoys the conceptualization of his character. You know. Yeah,
the Joker and Harley Quinn thing. I mean, that's essentially what they're doing. He's not evil though. He's not, at least not that we've seen. Meanwhile, we have, you know, Gowasu's universe, and then so this is the part they all come together. I remember they dropped the trailer for this arc at, I think it was Jump Festa, I believe, had a trailer for the manga version of this arc, and this is the image they showed. Yeah, they showed this image. Yeah, this one right here, and then you see all of them lined up. You there, man?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just blowing my nose.
So here is where they start giving them all labels, like universe, the names, and the where they're from, angel, the universe name, the name, and their job title. It's just a quick way. Toriyama used to do this too. It's a quick way to tell the audience who's who. That's basically what this is. It's literally, you know, just that.
Yeah, it is a good way to feature and display all the gods of destruction at the same time.
Yes. Pale Gray says Toyotaro originally had Masarita feeding Belmont, and Toriyama rejected it. I remember that, but what was the reason Toriyama rejected it? Did they actually give a reason?
I would say the implication that there's some sort of romantic thing between Belmont and Margarita is probably the reason it was rejected.
Yeah. Also, the other thing too is this scene also reminds me of that scene from Fantastic Four where they have all the countries together, and the Latvaria one is his empty seat, like that. That always puts a smile on my face, bro. Lots of Doctor Doom talk because of the upcoming movie. There'll be a lot of fun stuff coming up. So, Jordan, have you heard that in the trailer, Thor uses Stormbreaker the same way he was going to use it on Thanos, that he went through the Infinity Gauntlet beam, but in this movie, Doom stops Stormbreaker with 2 fingers?
No, that's wild.
That's what happens in the trailer, bro. Yeah, that's dude, he tries to hit Doom with the same move, and Doom just stops it with 2 fingers.
Yeah. So, Bleezy Bird said the Egyptian robes for the gods of destruction in the manga was a nice touch. It's actually cooler than you think, because Egyptian mythology is the only mythology where...
I'm glad you and him are getting along. No, go ahead.
It's the only mythology, like in ancient era, where the pharaoh were trying to be something akin to a god of destruction. So, like the ancient Egyptian pharaoh, before they started like really worshiping and looking up to Ra, they used to worship and look up to this other god called Babi, and ironically, he was an ape god. And a lot of the pharaoh looked up to him and tried to be like him, and he was essentially like a god of destruction. Like his role, like as a ruler and as a entity, was essentially that of a god of destruction. He would judge beings, to see whether or not they were worthy of keeping around, or whether or not they were worthy of being destroyed. And a lot of like ancient Egyptian pharaohs had that same approach and that same ideology and that same, like, essentially what they aspired to be in ancient Egyptian culture was very, very similar to the concept of a god of destruction. So it is really, really cool that Toriyama chose to go with that Egyptian aesthetic for those characters.
I agree with him 100%. I've always liked that. Okay. Are you going to do a video about the Frieza remake? No, and I will tell you why, my friend. A lot of people seem to forget this about my YouTube channel. Here's my YouTube channel, right? Yes, there's going to be content here under the videos area, right? But there's also content right here under live and shorts and podcasts. But go to live, right? I covered the Frieza event, the Beerus event right here on the stream I did on Sunday, and then this is the stream we're doing right now. And I've already covered Frieza, going back to where is it? This stream right here, bro. Dragon Ball Super Remake, Improving Resurrection F. So we've covered all of that stuff's already been covered. Make sure if you're going on my YouTube channel, don't just go to videos, go to live, because I do a lot of streams nowadays, as well as posts to get all the content, because you might be missing videos.
By the way, you can fact check me on that stuff about Egyptian lore. Like, I have worked with like researchers to find out this information. I didn't just like Google it. Like I've like literally like done heavy research. If you just look into the Egyptian god Babi, you'll see what I'm talking about. There was an era of there was an era of time in Egypt where they heavily looked up to that god and worshipped him and tried to essentially like hold themselves to the same standards as him. Essentially, what would happen is, with the Egyptian god Babi, is you would die, right? And you would go to the Egyptian afterlife, and then if you didn't meet the standard of Babi, the Egyptian god, he would consume your soul. Like, he would eat your soul. So he's almost like the Egyptian equivalent to a god of destruction. So.
Yeah, I've always loved when they borrow from all kinds of mythologies. It's Dragon Ball borrows from everything, man. So this scene right here is, I think, a fan favorite, and I like it a lot, that I actually hope they do give us in the Dragon Ball Super Tournament of Power remake, and that is the Battle Royale of the Gods of Destruction. I really like this scene a lot. I actually, the way I dreamed of this happening just could have been one of the most awesome martial arts sequences we've ever seen if they get the right team on it. They all have to brawl with each other, and everyone's all shocked and everything. And look at how surprising for us gods of destruction to fight each other. Like, they have to fight each other to see who the best god is, and it's a big battle royale, and a lot of them try to gang up on Beerus. I enjoy these a lot. None of this was in the anime. It was just extra stuff. And just seeing Beerus kick ass, like, it was a lot of fun. What do you think about this scene, and do you think it should be included in the new anime version?
Yes, I do. What I like about this scene is it shows that Beerus, as a character, psychologically, a lot of people think about this as like combat and like within the context of like physical training and physical capabilities. But what I like about this is it shows that Beerus is psychologically a bit ahead of the rest of the God of Destructions, because he can use Ultra Instinct, and even just
this is our first teaser of that in the manga.
So in the anime, they make it clear way more early on that one of the goals of the God of Destruction is for them to eventually figure out how to use Ultra Instinct as well. Now, they do kind of backtrack on this a little bit with Ultra Ego, but they essentially like imply that Ultra Instinct is the ultimate state and technique of the gods. It is essentially like,
right.
It is the technique that even the gods themselves cannot easily attain, very likely because they're ego themed, and you have to discard your ego to be able to use Ultra Instinct, which makes it that much more, difficult for them. But like, to me, the fact that he's able to do that at all goes to show that he spiritually and psychologically as a being has made a bit more progress than the rest of the gods of destruction.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah, and he's also a guy that we have known the longest as like viewers or readers, but he's also a guy who, he's a goofy guy with his food and his breakdancing, but yet he really is as impressive. Goku and Vegeta really do have the best team teaching them in Beerus and Whis. But it was a lot of fun. The anime did a much smaller version of this, and they had that stuff with the trios to dangers, which was cool. Like, I like this. The Gohan got blinded and Toppo fought Goku. Like, I enjoy that too. But I like this because it feels like the manga gave us a lot of God on God battle, including like that Beerus Champa fight in the Battle of Gods portion of the manga. This is something that, would just be a great illustrator, not just as foreshadowing for Ultra Instinct, but also seeing like how these gods fight, and Goku being mesmerized by Beerus at his best potential, because when Goku fought Beerus the first time, that was not him at his best. Here he's at his best. And that's, to me, that's awesome, because we've been wanting to see Beerus at his best for years. I mean, it's been like an ongoing thing. You know, and Goku, look, I'm getting more and more excited. So we're now in this is actually the end of the volume, because now we're going into the bonus chapters. This is the Gohan chapter, which I'm not. Yeah. What do you think about this Gohan chapter? I
think it's their attempt to do what they did in the
That's
anime,
what I was gonna say. It's their attempt to tie Gohan in.
But I just don't think it suffices. You know what I mean?
Do you think Toyotaro thought about Gohan and was like, yeah, we should probably do something with this?
Yeah. Now, I will say there is a very important panel here that I want to call attention to for future reference, and that is the bottom right panel.
Yes, I knew you were going to go there. I knew it, because that is some great foreshadowing for Superhero.
So, Gohan has started training in the gravity chamber every once in a while to try and prepare for a fight. Now, there's something I want you to notice. There's something I want you to notice here. This is very, very important. Despite the fact that Gohan has been making an attempt to train in the background and be prepared, he is not prepared. He is not in his ultimate form. He's not even close to being strong enough or prepared enough to participate in the Tournament of Power. And this is the start. A lot of people think of this as just like Gohan starting to learn that he needs to train and prepare, which he does. That's not wrong. But this is also the start of the series starting to reframe Gohan's training arc into mindless training's not going to work for him, okay? A lot of people use this panel to give Gohan credit for training behind closed doors, and they should. They should give him credit for that. But that is not actually the purpose of this panel. The purpose of this panel is to show you, despite the fact that Gohan has been training like this, he hasn't made any progress. And he doesn't make any progress until he trains with Piccolo prior to the Tournament of Power. And that's very, very, very important to notice, because it shows you that just training in the gravity room or just physically training is
Will we try to tell Trenton that one day?
Yeah, it's not going to be enough for Gohan to tap into all of his latent power and fully master his power. So essentially, in some sense, even though it does show some character growth for Gohan to train in the gravity chamber, it actually was almost useless, because it wasn't until Piccolo got a hold of him and psychologically molded him to be capable of being able to tap into his full power that he made any actual progress that was worthy of him participating in the Tournament of Power. And that's very, very important to remember, because, you know, not that you shouldn't give Gohan credit for training, but Super, particularly in this point of the story, from this point on, starts to make Gohan more of a focus, particularly in the manga. And because of that, it's important to understand that one of the things that they're trying to narratively tell you is that Gohan needs to take a very specific approach to his training to be able to make any progress. He doesn't need to just train mindlessly and randomly, you know, basically physically work out almost. Like he does need to have his body in good enough physical shape that his body can withstand the energy of his ultimate strength. That's part of the problem that he had in ROF, is that his body was so weakly that even if he did tap into his ultimate power, he wouldn't have been able to withstand it to begin with. So that is an important aspect of this. But what's really important to notice here is that despite the fact that Gohan has trained, he did not make any real progress. So that's something that that I want to call attention to.
And also, in a way, because he already started training and then later on trained with Piccolo, this may actually give a little bit more weight to why he did so well against Kefla, because that was always something that bugged me, that he did so well against Kefla. But I don't even remember reading this bonus chapter when it came out, because I think it came out after that. So it was almost like maybe Toyotaro was putting this in because he knew he'd be doing more with Gohan in the TOP. I'm not trying to give this guy this mastermind credit, but it is possible there was a reason why he put it in. But as you said, it wasn't like he discovered Beast. That wasn't until after the TOP.
Yeah, and you're right that Mecha J, you're right that it's not completely useless, because he does need to temper his body. I'm not saying it's completely useless, but it's almost useless in the sense that it's the wrong approach. Yeah, that's right. You understand what I'm trying to say. It's not that it's completely useless. It's that Gohan needs to change his approach to his training. Is essentially what they're trying to point out.
Yeah, which is going to be a big story coming up. So that's the end of Volume 5 of the Dragon Ball Super era. So the next up is Volume 6, which is going to be the Tournament of Power, the pre-tournament, and I think the tournament begins in that one. I'm trying to go back to the top here, but there we go. That'll be the next time we get together on the Mangalorian. We'll cover that. So
Jack says that he's looking forward to my Gohan video. Yes, I'm currently doing a Gohan video that covers his entire character arc from the beginning of the Dragon Ball Super anime to the end of the Dragon Ball Super manga. So,
weren't you doing one that's from all the way to the beginning of Z? Like, didn't you do one like that before?
I've done all of Z already. I'm completely done with Z. I did the Z portion in sections.
Right. And you're going to put them all together in one big video, which is what you should
eventually do. Yeah, but the Super video is one big video. Like, all of Super is one big video because they don't, like I said, they don't really start focusing on Gohan in the manga until the end. And there is some stuff with him in the anime, so I kind of had to like combine them together for this video because, you know, they don't really start focusing on Gohan until the end of the manga, but they do heavily focus on him in the anime. But anyway, look forward to that video, and go subscribe to my channel if you want to check that out.
Yeah, check. The link is in the description for his channel. Also, if you're a member, I saw some members in here earlier. I did move all memberships over to Patreon now. Just go to patreon.com/geekdom101 and click the membership button here, and you'll get all the options for the features, starting with this lowest tier to the highest one. Patreon's better for everyone. It's off YouTube site, so I can put stuff on there ahead of time. It's not gonna mess up the channel or anything else. And like, for example, this newest post right here, Invest Top, my top 5 holdings. That's only for Ultra Instinct members. So there'll be a lot of content on Patreon. Check those out. We got 15. No, we don't have 15. We have 19 volumes left before we're done with what's come out so far with Super. So next up is the TOP, though, but we'll cover that when we get there next.
Yep, and I appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out, as always. I noticed we've got, like, some devoted people who like consistently watch the Mangalorian, and I just wanted to take the time. I just wanted to take the time to tell you guys that I appreciate you so much for tuning in constantly. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It means the world. So
really, it does. Seriously, this is the Mangalorian's kind of like a master's class type of gimmick. So I think if you're one of these casuals that just plays video games all day, you might not be interested, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just everyone's different, but they should be interested because by the time that the Mangalorian's entire purpose is to put a spotlight on originally Toriyama's work and to show people, hey, like, this is the real Dragon Ball. Like, this is the real original Dragon Ball. Now, of course, we're covering Super and so on and so forth.
Now we're just dissecting Super, which is still fun.
Yeah, because Super's coming back, so why not? Anyways, next up is Volume 6, so we'll be back then. Take care of yourself, y'all. Have a good one. I'll see you guys probably later this week. I have a video I might get done this week about Beerus with some other things, so we'll see. Check out Jordan's channel, too. Don't forget that. All right, take care of yourself. Yeah, Peter Venkman. Have a nice day, and